Fairgrounds USA, countyfairgrounds.net. Welcome to today's podcast.
Do I have Austin Anderson of the Texas Trick Riders on the line with me?
Yep. Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm fine. So, Mr. Austin, I understand you're at the National Stock Show. So you want to tell me what the heck the Texas Trick Riders is?
Well, we are a troupe of performers, and we travel around the country, and we mostly work state fairs. I also do rodeo specialty acts. I'm a third-generation entertainer and horse trainer. We also do a little bit of television and film work also with the horses.
Okay. All right. So you do different performances. So how long generally is a performance? And kind of give me an idea what goes on there.
Well, our Texas Trick Rider show is basically a 20 to 25-minute show that we perform at the state fairs. Our rodeo acts, our rodeo specialty acts, they generally run 6 to 8 minutes. It's a little bit shorter in between events is what, for the rodeos, that's what they like, is a quicker act.
Okay. So you said you're a third generation. Where did this come from?
Well, my grandparents, they traveled around quite a bit during the Depression looking for work, and eventually they landed in Washington State. And my grandfather had started a rodeo company up there and did rodeos, produced rodeos up in that area. My mother went to New York when she graduated high school to dance with the Rockettes. And she spent 3 years in New York, and when she got out of the Rockettes, my grandfather decided to sell the place in Washington and start traveling on the road. And he started out with miniature mules. He had a Liberty act of 8 miniature mules, and he got my mother to work them, and they toured around the country playing shopping centers and different events and rodeos and venues. And my parents met at the American Royal in Kansas City, and they met there. My dad was just out of the Army, and he was working for driving a team of draft horses, Clydesdales, or on their show team, a company called Wilson's Meatpacking. They put a team out on the road. So my parents met there, and then a year later they were married, and they went to Napier, Nebraska, to the White Horse Ranch, the original White Horse Ranch, and they picked out 5 Snow White horses, and they began training. They had actually bought a horse, and they thought he was white, but he turned out he was a cream. But they put together a 6-horse Liberty drill, and then my dad would also do a 6-horse Roman riding act, and they played rodeos and circuses with that. And then from there, they just expanded. They got more white horses, started a breeding program for the white horses, and they took out what was called the Texas White Horse Troupe Show. They originally started out, they were living in Illinois, but right after I was born, they moved to Texas. Better climate, more land, to be able to house more horses. And they started out doing the fair circuit and rodeo circuit. I believe they took their first fair show out in 1966, and it was called the Texas White Horse Troupe. And that show featured Roman riders, Liberty horses, trick riders, trick ropers, chariot racing. It was like a 90-minute grandstand show. And they toured with that over the years. And then in the winter, they would play circus dates, the winter dates. There was a lot of big circuses, indoor circus dates like Detroit, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. They all had big shrine circuses, so they would do that some in the winter. And then we always did rodeo acts also, so from time to time, it would just kind of diversified, I guess you might say. And in the 80s, we got into working in theme parks a little bit, and that kind of took us off the fair circuit, but we worked in theme parks as well. And then in the 90s, things kind of came full circle. We went back to doing rodeos. My sister started a 6-horse Roman riding act with all white horses. and she started performing, or she had been performing all along, but that was her act. Her and I both got our PRCA rodeo cards, and actually Denver here at the National Western was my first ever PRCA rodeo to perform at. And then over the years, we've done a variety of things. The early 90s, I got involved with television and film work, doing stunt work. Eventually, that led to us supplying cast and stunt horses for movies with mainly the white horses. That was when they needed a white horse for something, they would call me. In 2004 is actually when I got the Texas Trick Rider started. We were called to do the state fair at Virginia, and they wanted something to kind of augment the horse show program over there. And so I put together about a 25-minute show featuring Roman riding, trick riding, and trick roping. Basically, the Texas Trick Riders were born, and we've been, doing state fairs, and I've always done rodeo, so we do a few rodeos a year, a few state fairs.
So have you ever considered doing anything else but this kind of stuff?
Not really. It's been pretty good business for me, and I'm not, I'd be lying if I said I didn't go out and I have not worked other jobs. Sometimes we do have some gaps in our schedule, and I will go out and do like industrial construction, and so I have, I wanted to buy a new pickup when I was young. I was like in my early 20s. Our show season had ended, and I had a friend that was working construction, and he thought, yeah, that's big money, you can come out and make some. So I worked a winter job doing construction there and to help buy a new pickup. But I off and on, I have worked outside of the industry, but primarily 90% is all entertainment and horse equine related.
All right, so do you have a family? I see that, like, from your website, it shows like 3 of you working this show. Is that right?
Well, I have a core group of people, and then we will expand that from time to time, depending on the scope of the work, of the job requirements. The fairs have kind of gone a little bit more streamlined. The days of producing a 90-minute show, they're not economically friendly for, they just can't afford those big shows. So we pared it down quite a bit. And yes, typically I'll do a show 3 to 4 people, sometimes as many as 8. But yeah, we try to keep a core group of performers. The 3 of us can come together just on short notice and put together a show. We've worked enough together that we know each other, and we have certain acts and routines that we've done. So it varies. It depends on the job.
Is that your wife that works with you?
That is actually currently my fiance.
Okay, all right.
So getting close.
All right, so you do a lot of, besides horse riding tricks and things, you do a lot of gun shooting. How did that get there? And are those old-fashioned Western-type guns?
Well, they are. They're single-action revolvers, 45 caliber. I had, back in the 80s, I got my first pair of guns. My parents had produced a Wild West show at a theme park. It was called Circus World, and it had previously been owned by Ringler Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus as a winter quarters / theme park. When we worked there, we were brought in to start up a Wild West show. A lot of the old circuses had little mini Wild West shows that would perform prior to the circus, and so the theme park thought it would be great to revive a Wild West show. So my parents were brought in to do that, and part of that show there was some gun spinning tricks with guns, and then we had an old time shootout. And so I just thought that was pretty neat. I was probably about 13 years old at the time, and typical guy, likes to do stunts and gun stuff. And so anyway, I got my first pair of guns, and I started doing gun spinning. And in 2001, I had gotten a call to work in the historical stockyards of Fort Worth, Texas. There was a Wild West show there, And through the negotiation, they wanted me to provide trick riding, rolling riding. I do a bull whip act. And then he said, "Can you do some trick shooting?" And I said, "Well, certainly." So I learned real quick how to do trick shooting. It was just kind of one of those things. You don't want to turn anything down. And he also asked me about announcing the show, and I kind of volunteered to announce the show. So there again, I had to learn to announce the show. It's probably not. I wasn't really a traditional announcer per se. I was playing the main character. I was playing Pawnee Bill, and I was also an interactive character, but I also announced the show. So that's kind of how the trick shooting got started. He said that we have to have a trick shooter in the show, and I said, well, I can do that, So, and I just developed it, and I've done several different versions of my trick shooting act over the years.
Okay, so do you work all year long?
Well, we are on the road some, but not. Yeah, to answer that question, the answer is yes, of course, because we operate a ranch at home. We're not on the road year-round, but when we're home, we're always training horses. And then I also have an internship program for individuals who are looking to get into mainly the entertainment industry, mainly through trick riding and equestrian performance, like trick riding and roller riding, but also just general horse training, trick training, liberty work. So we're always doing something. So if we're not on the road, we're at home training, and then of course there's with the ranch there's always things to do. Our routine is it evolves, it changes, from month to month, depending on if we have a job coming up, then we focus on that, getting ready for that. If we don't, then we're looking at new horses. What can we do? Who's going to help us out with our program? What horses? And then just general upkeep. Like this winter, I spent. I went out last winter, I should say, and worked a little bit of the construction work, and then I came home and with the intent to build some more corrals so that we could take in more horses for training. So there's always something to do around the ranch.
Oh, I imagine so. So what are some of your favorite shows that you have done, and some of the best memories?
Well, we've worked some of the biggest equestrian expositions, like Equina Fair is a big one. I've been there 7 times. That's always been pretty much a good experience and kind of a feather in your cap. As far as rodeos, I've worked here at the National Western. I've done the Calgary Stampede, Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. Those are, in the rodeo industry, those are pretty good ones. And as far as your state fairs, most all of the state fairs have been great. Probably one of the highlights was working at the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto. I was there with my parents as a young kid. I was probably 9, 10, or 11. I'm not sure. And then I went back with my own show in 2005 and 2006. So that was kind of a highlight, as far as the state fairs and expos type. We did the Minnesota State Fair. That's also one that my parents had performed at with their troop show, and then I was there again with my Texas Trick Rider show. So those are a couple of the highlights.
You're pretty much self-contained, and obviously your show takes place in an outdoor arena.
Well, yeah, typically in an arena. I do prefer the indoor arenas now. A lot of event venues are covered and indoors for obvious reasons. They're always nice to be indoors. But yeah, our show is a large equestrian show. Typically, we are kind of leaning and changing to a stage production or I should say, to be able to offer a stage production. If a fair or event venue does not have space for the horse arena, we can do 2 types of arenas. We can work in a full-size arena, which is typically, I'm going to say roughly 100 by 200, or our Texas Trick Rider show can also fit into a 70-foot round arena. That round arena concept, of course, comes from my experience with the circus. The circus rings are round. In 2013, Silver Dollar City had contacted me and hired me, a contractor, to produce a show during one of their seasonal festivals. And it was a month-long show, and it was indoors, and they had very limited space. And they had told me that they had done a 70 by 70 rectangular arena, and I was like, well, if you want us to trick ride, we need to be able to keep the horses moving constantly at the same pace. They can't run into a corner and then have to stop. And 70 feet is not really, when you're used to going 200 feet, having a sweeping corner that's at least 100 feet wide, coming around, you need to be able to continuously go the horses. So I said, can you build me a round arena? And it was like totally kind of blew their minds at first. The concept was like, well, I don't know, And so, but anyway, long story short, they built a round arena, and I showed them how that round would allow us to continuously gallop the horses and allow the trick riders to maneuver on the horse and do the tricks continuously in the circle. So we can do the Texas Trick Rider Show in a 70, as small as a 70-foot round arena. I do have a third horse show that I do called Hollywood Horses Tricks and Tales. It's a trick horse. It's kind of an educational and entertaining demonstration of how we train horses to do various tricks. I obviously use the Hollywood and the movie work kind of as a catch with that, and we explain some of the things, how we set up a shot and how the horse would be on a mark and go from A to B and do a trick like a rare or something like that. And then, of course, like I said, we are wanting to move on to where we can offer a stage-type production that's whips, guns, and roping, and do it on a stage or even on the ground in a smaller area without horses. So just staying diversified. That's basically what we're trying to do.
Okay, so I always like to ask, are there any shows that you would like to do that you have not yet had the opportunity to do?
Oh boy, yeah, yes. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are several. There's a lot of events that I've been to for like one day deals, and that I would like to put the Texas Trick Rider Show in for like a continuous run. And there's a whole lot of state fairs and county fairs that I haven't worked. So any of them that I have not yet been to, they're always kind of on our list, and we're always looking at new events or new avenues. I offhand, I can't really think of anything, that's on my bucket list per se. But we've done a lot of shows over the years, so it's we've been pretty fortunate, to have a good long career, good horses and whatnot. But always, whatever the next job is, that's always the next one, I guess, I look forward to.
Okay, so you sound fairly flexible in space requirements, right?
Well, we try to be. Yeah. It in the early days, of course, everything is a learning process, and I learned that you have to compromise a little bit and be flexible. If you sell one particular product and it's not a good fit for a fair or an event, then they can't use you. So by being flexible, I think it kind of gives us a little bit of, added, at least they'll take a second or third look at us and, try to work things out. Sometimes I customize, things too. I mean, I've done private events on people's ranches for parties and whatnot, and you kind of have to be flexible there too. So yeah, flexibility and diversified is always good, I think.
Okay, so how do shows reach you if they have an interest?
Well, they could reach us through our website, of course. Our email is on there, and email is always good. And then, of course, just a good old-fashioned phone call. That's really the best way. Just then we can talk about what they're looking for and what we have to offer and what I can do to fit their needs. So email,
okay.
Phone call. Yep.
So that would be your phone number?
Yep, that would be it. 903-520-0058.
Okay, Austin, I thank you very much. So what are you doing at the National Western?
We are we kicked the National Western off. We were part of what they call the Boots and Business Luncheon, and that is a brunch or lunch put on the very first day of Stock Show. It's all the major contributors and sponsors are there, and it's talk about getting a little bit out of your norm. We performed on a stage in the center of, there was probably about 150 tables set on the arena floor around this stage. So I rode my horse up onto the stage, did some whip cracking. I stepped off of him. Cowgirl Chelsea, my fiance, joined me, and then we did a couple of whip tricks. It was a real brief act they had us do for that. And then throughout the week, we have been performing at the Activities Pavilion, which is kind of the educational, it's an educational program. We do provide, again, that blend of education and entertainment that they were looking for. And then this weekend, we will be part of the Wild West show. Saturday and Sunday, they have a Wild West show. And then, of course, they have the PRCA Rodeo at night, every night here throughout the Stock Show.
Okay. Well, have a good event, and thank you very much for talking to us, Mr. Austin.
You bet. Thank you for calling. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.